What's going on, everybody?
Who's awake?
We barely are.
What a day.
Welcome to our Saturday recap. Rogue Invitational. Lauren and Tommy here again at the Airbnb. Was that a dying cat outside?
I do not know what that is. It's either that or it almost sounds like a drone flying, like a very loud
Wow.
drone at 11 p.m.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's happening. There's a party outside going on, and then I think there's a band of feral cats that decided to hold a kumite in our backyard. But yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah. Today was a good day. 3 events. Some cool leaderboard shifts. I think it's just cool that yesterday we were talking about Laura being 5 points ahead of Tia, and then the exact swap happened going into tomorrow with Tia 5 points ahead of Laura.
Yeah. So I mean, the battle that everyone came to see is paying dividends so far. You know, with them jockeying for the top 2 spots. But it was a pretty fun back and forth, I think, overall. Both athletes had to finish outside the top 10, and then both athletes had 2 stellar performances that kind of evened out on the leaderboard, with Tia having the first and the fourth, and Laura having the second and the third. It opened with the 10th inning. Let's talk that first, because that's the opening event, 10th inning. Tia just put on a clinic there.
Truly, like anybody who is doubting whether after giving birth, you know, your endurance, your raw CrossFit movements, I mean, that's really what that workout was. 10 rounds of ring muscle ups, handstand push-ups, power snatches, little short reps, lots of transitions. And she just, I mean, she did not miss a beat in that workout at all.
Yeah, I mean, every round looked identical.
Yeah.
And that's what was impressive by it. You know, you talk about some of these long events where it's almost like you have to be like a metronome, because there's so many transitions. The reps are relatively short in terms of like number, and the loading isn't crazy. So you're tempted to keep the gas pedal down. And so you have to be really prudent, both in your movement quality, your transition between the two, and how you're managing your energy, so that it can almost be identical. And this is one of the ones where it doesn't pay to necessarily rev the engine early or late, but have the most steady pace throughout. And Tia walked across the finish line, and it looked like
she was fine.
Yeah. Like, I think she could have ripped another 120 snatches, which I think is going to be have a huge effect after what we saw tonight.
Yeah.
On the athletes. It was a vintage Tia performance, right? Because the individual component she's always been great at, right? She's been great at gymnastics, the muscle up volume, not a problem. You know, she, outside of maybe Christy Aramo O'Connell, one of the best at ring muscle ups, obviously a phenomenal weightlifter. Her track record is second to none in that within the sport. And then what she also excels at, when you blend them all together in a way that's meaningful, to where you can showcase a higher level of capacity and pacing and movement quality and things like that. So,
but as impressed as I was with Tia in that workout, almost equally, if not more impressed with Emma Carey at her heels almost the entire time. It really wasn't until maybe the last 3 rounds where Emma Carey lost a bit of ground against Tia. Still was able to take second place overall, but I thought that was a fun battle for the most part in that workout.
And that felt like, obviously, Emma did great this year at the games, but that was a type of test that has been the culmination of something that she's been working on for a long time. Obviously, with the Brute Crew before, and now she's with Dom at Mayhem.
Yep.
You know, we talked to her at Wadapalooza, and one of the things she said is, like, she has a tendency to just go full blast right out the gate, kind of like Noah a little bit.
Yeah.
And understand that it's okay to let people get in front of you early on, and you don't just have to lead from the outset. You can draft a little bit and push. And, you know, there was some jockeying back and forth towards the middle of the workout, and then you could see her start to stomp the gas a little. And obviously she wasn't going to catch Tia. I felt like Tia could have maintained that forever, but to have enough in the tank there to where she's not following off and trying to fend off people trying to chase her, super impressive for her, and another strong performance. Honestly, she's kind of been up and down this weekend. And I think it was a nice second place for her to kind of open the day. And Ariel Lowen, what's up, Noelle? Good to see you. Made it in time. We barely made it
You're
too.
awake.
Ariel Lowen from an earlier heat. I think it's would have benefited from being around the top athletes in that.
She got a third. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was just behind it. She set the time to beat. Her and Manon were racing for a bit, but Ariel actually stayed pretty steady on that. She's one of those athletes that's really good at pacing some of these longer kind of spin your wheels tests. And I was impressed with how her muscle up volume held up, even though she did the chicken wing.
Which I do not know how your shoulders stay intact. And
I mean, she did it's almost like if the chicken wing is unintentional, right? You don't want to do that.
For sure. But
I'm going to call it the 50-50, one half, then the other half, if it's intentional, because she's doing it effectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
for whatever reason, when I see like the chicken wing and a bar muscle up, maybe just because we see more people do that, I'm less surprised that watching the rings like that, I was like, whoa, I cannot believe she's able to maintain shoulder stability like that.
Yeah. And it was a strong performance. And, Ariel is just outside of the top 10 right now.
Yeah.
11th. Yeah. So, maybe it quite hasn't had the weekend like she did at the games, but it's all good. We saw something similar with both Ricky and Roman last year. Like, maybe taking some time off or pulling back a little bit. And I don't know if rogue programming necessarily suits her as well. That's why we were talking about the top American type thing. And, I actually sold that, but
yeah,
she's still flat on the things that are, I don't know, less implement dependent, some like the just capacity stuff she's done really well at towards the meat of the week. But yeah. Still a strong performance from her.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with the women all the way through.
Yeah. Then we can go to the men's side. Their leaderboard's crazy. The
duel.
Oh man.
The duel part 3. This means war.
Okay, so the first thing that stuck out to me before really much happened, I think it was in the very first heat, was Paige Semenza taking the most gnarly spill I've ever seen, but just as quickly as she fell over the log, she popped right back up and did not miss a beat. Lost her sunnies, kept going, like stayed alive. It was insane.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I'm not surprised, being a collegiate hockey player, you got to take some bumps and licks and be able to get back up. You hit the deck on the ice, it's a little less forgiving than turf, and you got to pop right back up. But I thought, she fell and then she comes back and she finishes third in that workout.
Yeah.
She just missed out being in the final duel. I mean, she's having a pretty solid weekend so far. She had the workout to end last night, and the first one this morning hurt her. But then she's had 4 top 10 finishes and has been hanging around the top 10 after, cracking the top 20 at the games for the first time. So pretty good company when Ariel Lowen and Daniel Brandon are the 2 athletes on either side of you. But yeah, I feel like Paige was getting a good pop too from the crowd. Just her effort in the duel and on the deadlift, it felt like a lot of people were pulling for her because there was a couple times where it looked like she might stop.
Yeah.
And decided to go for it a little bit and lent into the crowd, and I felt like she gained some fans this weekend.
And she even, like, speaking to her deadlift, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but she's doing the raising her arms, and I mean, she just looked so strong out there with these, and I think it's been exciting to watch her, have some of these wins over the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting enough, Sam Lozada asked about how different that workout would have been if it had the rope climb. I think it would have been significantly different.
Completely different.
I mean, adding that, like, depending on how tall the rope climb is, maybe they make it a tall one. Just adding that body weight and like that gymnastics component, I think slows down some of the powerhouse women that, it would even out the sandbag a little bit, but I get why they do it. There's a combination of the uncertainty around the weather and then also people's hands. Grip and a lot of pulling, and there were some. I think there were almost themes of the day. Some pulling. This today felt like a really posterior chain heavy with the snatches, the quick twist and pull of the sandbag, and then the heavy deadlift. But
I think from a spectator standpoint too, if we're not talking about like the programming being like well-rounded, because some people are like, well, you're missing the skill element
Yeah.
of the duel. But I think the way that it was so fast and vertical down the field, it was really entertaining to see people just full on sprint and throw their bodies over these logs.
Yeah, I think we yeah, I think we still would have had some familiar faces at the top.
Yeah.
But I think someone like Fikowski would have he did great already.
Yeah.
But you know, he's so good with his movement, like being a technician on the rope as well, like fast up, fast down. People like Vellner who already did well as well,
Yeah.
and who are fantastic grip endurance, upper body pulling to where they don't have to think twice about that versus you know, and we can get into it more, some of the reservations athletes had in how they applied their engine specifically with the snatches and like being more deliberate in their movement because of their hands. But I think Laura would have been fine. Laura might have won, actually. I think Laura beats Danny if for sure if that it's a rope climb, but it wasn't. And I think it was probably a better show without the rope climb.
8/1000ths of a second is
100ths.
what 100ths.
We heard 1000s. I went back and looked. It's 8/100ths. Of a
Eight
second.
100ths.
Yeah.
Okay, I had somebody else do the math for me.
yeah, for sure. No, I went back and looked. It's like, do they track 1000s on the leaderboard? And yeah.
Okay, but
8/100ths of a second.
But nonetheless, crazy is what Danny beat Laura by.
For sure.
One.
And it was close almost every time, but it felt like Danny was the best one out there. You know, it was like Laura was pushing her every round with I think 2 or 3 cycles they got to go together.
Yeah.
But yeah, Travis mentioned they thought they would add something in its place. Giving the grip a break was smart. I think
so many people's hands were torn up from yesterday between the logs and what was the other one? The log muscle ups. What was the and the monkey bars. That's what I was thinking.
Interestingly enough, and you know, we can talk more about it later on the men's side. But I was talking to Karen Lambre, and she was I walked up to her because I saw her using little thin strips of tape folded in half on itself, wrapped around your fingers. And I'm like, little old school hand protection? She goes, yeah, I didn't know how to do that. But Annie Sakamoto was doing and she showed me because back in the day, before gymnastics,
with the white tape to your hands, yeah.
So before
the makeshifts,
before gymnastics grips were gymnastics grips that didn't have the dowel and weren't for specific gymnastics, everyone used to take. And I have my other hand is holding the cord right now. So you take a piece of tape, you fold it in half so it's thinner, you wrap it around the finger, and you do that a couple times with each, and then you wrap the tape around it.
Yep.
And it becomes a hand cover that can stick more closely to your hand overall. And you can even like use double sticky sided tape or a variety.
So is it similar to those like Wad and Done?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but like even those water nuts that have the stretchy tape, those will fold, right? Because the structure of it isn't as strong. But if you use something like goat tape or regular tape that has a little bit firmer structure, over time it doesn't break down as much, so it doesn't get bendy and break. And that was a face, Kelly. What was that? I just saw you look at the camera like funny, like it was going to turn off or something. Oh, everything good? Okay.
Kelly's keeping an eye on us.
Yeah.
Oh.
What is in the background? But yeah. But so we're some athletes kind of going old school on their hand protection. It was funny that some of them did know how to do that because that was the first way that like I learned how to protect my hands. And it was just like out of necessity, right? Because you know all the Bear Complex Victory grips didn't have the products that they do now. So, yeah, Pixel, but but that race was great. It was good to. It was fun to see. You just the one thing always the timing of it.
Yeah,
forever. It's action and rest. Action, rest.
I know with like the re-racking and the buys and it. Yeah.
Once they get down to like the top 10, it
goes faster, but the beginning is a little bit slow.
Yeah, but that was so fun to watch. And then,
Yeah.
it was almost a similar story with the deadlift too.
Mhm.
That was long.
And honestly, I don't know if it's because you knew your field of athletes and you wanna make sure that everybody can hit the first couple of ones, but I think we sometimes underestimate, and maybe not, I am not the programmer, but how strong some of these women are. I mean, even you look back at the games when they did the sandbag and how many people were, like, hitting it, hitting it, hitting it,
Mhm.
hitting it with which obviously extends it, but, the deadlift, man, once you got deep into it, it got really exciting.
Yeah, and it's almost like what's the best way I can put it? It's like those events are like a pomegranate, like eating a pomegranate. It's a lot of work, and then you get a little bit of like really, really good stuff at the end,
I love pomegranates,
you know,
but I
but
know what you
but
mean.
it's like you gotta slice
Yeah,
that
yeah,
bastard open and like get all the little juicy seeds out, and then
yeah,
finally you're like, all right, all that work, but I got like 5 minutes of ambrosia
right.
to enjoy, and but that's what it is, right? It's like this build, it's slow build, and then all of a sudden it was like heavy bars start popping, and you see some athletes like really have to grin and bear it on those barbells, and they start playing to the crowd because that like, hey, we're in PR territory, or like heavy stuff lifting a long time territory, and
Mhm.
they need that little extra bump. Jeff asked a good question, or sorry, Sam asked a good question of whether they should have taken bigger jumps. I think it's possible. That's I mean, that's what we're more used to with deadlift, right? Like you're gonna
Yeah.
make a couple big tactical jumps early on and then weed them out. And the byproduct of taking smaller jumps is the total poundage lifted by the end. I think we were doing some rough calculations, like the
Oh
top
my
women had
god.
lifted, over 6,000 pounds worth of deadlifting
And
by the
that's
end.
it it's not the fact that it was a heavy deadlift workout that's going to equate to how they feel tomorrow. It's adding up the amount of weight that they lifted within a 2-hour window
Yeah.
right before going to bed.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Jeffrey. A 3x deadlift from Gazan is, crazy
She is
impressive.
so unassuming.
Yeah. It's funny because I think, talk about some of her strength, like obviously the bench press and
Yeah, yeah.
her upper body pulling, I didn't know she had that deadlift in her. I hadn't seen her pull heavy like that.
She said that her Cutler has been having her pull. I think before this, she was doing, what did she say? Like up to 415
Mm.
off blocks. So not from the
Ah,
floor, but
interesting.
she knew when I was talking to her afterwards, she was like, I knew that I was going to get somewhere around 420-ish.
Yeah.
But man, watching that and even some of the other women, it's funny because Danny Spiegel was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be one of the top women. I hate deadlifting. I'm not strong in deadlifting. I'm strong, but strong at like squatting and
Dynamic Olympic lifting and squatting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And seeing her do that, I was surprised that she didn't get the 425 to extend her hips all the way to the top. But
Power is power.
yeah, yeah. Um, Laura Horvath, the entire time up to her 415, she finished third overall, double overhand grip. Oh, I think I saw everybody else a mixed grip. And at the beginning, I was like, oh, maybe she's just saving her grip. Kept it that way the entire time.
Well, they were using, I believe they're using a deadlift bar that has deeper
Yep,
knurling
yep.
and is a little bit thinner diameter
Mhm.
with a little bit of whip. So you can pull some slack out and kind of lock it in there and like prime the pull a little bit. Also, that and Tia didn't wear a belt.
I know. And I thought maybe because she wasn't gonna lift as heavy, just knowing that, I mean, she just had a baby, and it could be anywhere from, just getting her midline engaged again, pelvic floor things. I thought she didn't wear a belt because she was only gonna lift X amount, and what did she finish? She finished 4th,
400.
she still pulled 400 pounds beltless? Dear
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I assume it probably has something to do with, the pregnancy and, I'm this is obviously not my area of expertise, but like your pelvic floor changes,
Yeah.
everything about it like changes. Um, so who knows like what using that belt properly and pushing out and like creating that pressure in there could probably not be the best thing for him. Who knows?
But it's just impressive because now, I mean, we know that she trained pretty well up through her pregnancy, went through pregnancy. When you're so fit like Tia, getting your fitness back is probably, not that it's not hard, but I'm sure clearly a lot of her strength and things like that have come back pretty quickly.
I mean, the body remembers, right?
I mean, she's an athlete. A very high level athlete.
And just a couple, like the last time we did a ladder format for deadlift like this at the ranch, the winner was Brooke Wells at 415, which was crazy impressive. But she was the only person north of 400. You know,
when was this?
2016.
Okay, yeah.
But you look at like Alex Kazan, Danny Spiegel, Laura Horvath, the top 3 women, even Kyra Milligan weren't around then.
Yeah.
And they're all 395 plus. It was Brooke Wells, and then Candace Wagner was second with I think 395 as well. And I think overall there was only 6 women that were 365 or heavier in the deadlift back then, and I think they had 10 now.
And
so
12 were 365 or higher.
What about 375?
375, 10.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Impressive. Strong women.
Yeah, it was crazy volume. But I mean, the finish at the end with Kazan was awesome. That was for anyone that was at home, the crowd had been kind of static for a little while and it started to build. When Kazan lined up that deadlift to be able to finish, everyone stood up.
Yeah.
But I actually think I got a cool shot of like everybody standing and then like tunneling in between them of her smiling when she like finishes lift, gets the down signal.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, strong performance. And like you said, overall, Tia moves back in front of Laura.
5 points.
Yeah. They've had
Emma Lawson
really steady. Yeah. Emma back in third, but 85 points back, just in third. Gabby right there. Alex right there. Christine Colenbrand are doing well.
Yeah.
Manon in 7th. Lauren Fisher.
Yeah.
Solid. She's tied at points with Manon. I mean, can't speak highly enough with what Lauren's doing, what she's been dealing with. And strong deadlifter too. A lot of people were surprised by her strength. But back at the ranch deadlift ladder, I want to say she pulled 370,
365.
Yeah.
I think she said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 365, I think it was. Yep. Yeah. Impressive day for the women. Should we talk about the men?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go back to
4.
Yep. But that was when Noah won. That was cool. That was fun.
Was really cool.
I'll say this. I said this in our top moments. Even talking to people, Noah was going toe to toe with Vellner early on in that test, and everyone was just kind of like, "Oh, here we go."
Noah going out
high. I'm like, no, actually, like this is kind of his jam.
Yeah,
you know, like this again, the spinning wheels type stuff. Remember, he won Mary. Like this is something he's very good at. I was talking with Bijan, his agent and buddy, afterwards, and we were kind of talking like, no, I think you can win this. And it's funny because I think his mindset is somewhere else.
Yeah.
So he doesn't necessarily go in thinking like, yeah, I'm going to win. You know, I'm going to win this now. It's like, oh, this is a good workout for me. It's just this slight shift, very subtle but like distinct shift. And he was telling me like, no, he was like, Noah, do you need to do some muscle ups for warm up? And Noah like walks over to the rings, does 2, and he goes, yeah, I think I got this. Like he's
casual.
And when he was like at his best, Noah was one of the best in the world at ring muscle ups. And so I think with just 4, he's like, yeah, I kind of got this one. But
well, and even kind of speaking to that workout before Heat 2 took the floor, Victor Hoffer had his little moment when he won his heat. And I mean, it just speaks to this man is a gymnast and just looks so smooth out there. His first ever Rogue Invitational. I think that it was really cool to see him up against these men because he had just missed out at the games on the demo team. A nice little moment out there for him.
Yeah, it's boom or bust for him, and obviously this is gonna be a learning experience because,
Mhm.
he last he didn't pull the deadlift, and that was by design because he's dealt with back issues, and he's finally got his back health, and he wants to keep it that way.
Mhm.
He was last in the ruck. Um, you know, obviously does well in the gymnastics, more like core CrossFit stuff.
Yep.
Same with the second test too. But in these games level implements that are a little bit outside of the box, it's he's gonna have some like welcome to the league rookie type moments. Even same with the duel too.
Yeah.
But
Good
yeah,
experience for him, especially as a
he
young
almost
athlete.
took a big digger on
Oh,
the duel. Yeah,
yeah.
he went flying. That
There were a
was
couple of men in there was only one woman who had a tumble, but there was several men who
You want to know why women live longer than men? Go back and watch the early heats of the duel.
yeah, and you'll see
I think
why who's
maybe
taking the
one woman
risks.
fell. It was Paige, and then
Yeah.
all of the like every heat had a dude falling because they just like catapulted themselves
Yeah.
over the log. Got a little extra juice, and adrenaline, and went flying. But it was pretty funny to see. Everyone had good spirits about that
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least. But yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Garrett Clark getting some good experience. I think um,
oh
he's
yeah.
had some
Oh,
some tough events. He's go back to.
sorry. Scrolling.
Yep.
Yep.
He had his best finish of the weekend in the deadlift for sure.
Yep.
But
Pulled
he's in deadlift.
565.
He's in last, but trying to climb up a little bit.
Yeah.
A couple of good events here or there can pull him out of that. But it's you just don't get this type of experience anywhere else because of how dense the field is. I was talking with Chris Hinshaw actually.
Yeah.
And
This weekend?
Yeah. Him and
I haven't seen him
Heidi
yet.
were, yeah. And bumped into him. He was talking. He had gone to the Prefontaine event that they have,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a very specific type of race where like they don't just invite anyone. It's like this is like a record breakers type meet, and like it's the best of the best. And the pace setter for the 5K set a world record for the rest of the like the field. It's like that's what it is.
Casual.
It's the best of the best. You're a pipe hitter if you're here, and it's distilled in a way where like we're thrown down and sparks are gonna fly, and that's kind of cool for someone like Garrett. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, all right, that's the speed that I have to operate on a constant basis, test
Oh
in
my
and test
God.
out. But yeah, yeah, and then we went to the men's duel, and kind of similar story. Obviously Hopper getting back on the horse and going toe to toe. Him and Fikowski were the last two. It was super close between Pat and Brent to make it to that final.
Yeah.
But it was pretty fun. I mean, we saw some of the guys with the long wingspans, Fikowski and Vellner and Hoste. And I think Travis Mayer is sneaky athletic, right? Because this is like a more pure athleticism type event for sure.
My favorite thing about Jason versus Brent was when Brent was talking in the post-game interview, and he essentially said he was cheating off of Hopper's homework.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to how dialed in Brent is. He was watching Hopper to see exactly how he was picking up the sandbags, what his technique was, where his chest was, and then tried to implement that in his final neck and neck between Hopper, but Hopper edged him out.
It's interesting how fast you can turn that information around.
Yeah,
Because it's one thing to watch, and it's a second thing to process and then replicate it elsewhere. Like that's the Brent Fikowski difference right there. To be able to do that is certainly impressive. And we even saw him after that event. He was talking up the strongman. He's like almost always collecting information.
Oh yeah,
it's fascinating. But and it's cool in an event like that because I've said this a few times. Back in 2019, I was talking with Brent, and then in the next stage of his career here.
Sorry,
yeah, that's all
I'm
good.
fine. I'm awake.
That this next stage of his career, he's trying to be able to pin his ears back and just go for it.
Yeah,
because he's so calculated, and this was a nice mix, right? He was calculated and understanding. Oh, what are the other guys doing that are fast? How can I replicate that? And then I'm gonna hammer this, but pretty cool from him.
Yeah.
Brent's first turn at Rogue, and he's in the hunt for the podium for sure. But trying to think.
Do you want me to
Let me go back to the
5?
Yeah, scroll down a little bit because Yella did roll. Ricky bounced back pretty well. He fumbled the bag on the round of 10. I think him and Bailey Martin both, and just missed out on and weren't able to kind of move forward. But yeah, it was close. That one kind of shook some things up because both Jeff and Roman were outside.
Yeah, way down.
Yep. But yeah, if they can tighten that up to where it doesn't take as long, I think. Yeah,
because when the action was happening, it was very, very entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how you can tighten up the time in between.
Yeah. Especially
no, you're sorry.
Especially with how the deadlift played out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome. And speaking of the deadlift, Brad brought this up, look about how there's levels to strength even at the top, and the difference between Chandler and Alex and how good they looked on those final bars for sure. I mean, obviously Tudor Magd is very strong. He showed that at semifinals. He showed that in the past as well. Vellner, tremendous deadlifter. Had the top deadlift in the total a couple years ago in 2018. Generally a strong puller from the floor. He ended up hitting 595. I wanted him to hit 600 because he was bummed that he hit 595 at the 2018 games. And he's like, I don't know how often I'm going to max my deadlift like this and have a crack at 6. And he was so close at 605. He just needed the lockout, but I think his hand started to slip. And it was like, sacrifice some skin for the hand or let it go. And he made the wise choice. But
the adult choice.
Yeah, but I mean, Chandler.
Oh my God.
I mean,
how fast he has the power lifting the barbell. Like in my head, I was just thinking of memes at the beginning because it was getting to be so late that I'm like, Chandler walks up to the bar. He's like, I'm just going to lift it because I just want to get home, go do my bedtime routine and get ready for tomorrow.
But then he threw another one on. He was like,
I know.
Yeah. He's like, hey, I'm gonna give you guys a show. And like that was cool because everyone was like, oh man, we're almost there. And then he did that extra one. No one's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. They're like, okay, we're here to see the show.
And he ripped it, and he obviously wins the event. And,
he won the log last year too for same style. It was the Florida overhead.
Yeah. It's an
event too, which is always fun.
Yeah, and he's got a little showman in him. You know, got that celebration. He was swag, but. Yeah.
And with the collared shirt, I was loving his outfit. It was good.
Yep. We got some good questions here. Yeah. Brad, if the top 5 getting a bye, their first chance to the duel is in a round where everyone else got to go at the event. I actually, we talked about this last year. I feel like they should give the top 5 an option to run it just without repercussion. Right? Because if you get a bye through the round of 15, then you go and everyone else has had a crack at it. And you haven't felt it at game speed. And we see athletes get faster as they go along.
That's true.
It totally could be, kind of a mini detriment.
Yeah.
But what's up, Brandon? I think tech and the biggest times in the biggest factor shuffling the bracket. Yeah. There's some tech stuff, and it's always like, you never know what, it's funny. I think about it this way. When something doesn't work, like,
Good night, Kelly.
This cable. Night. When something, doesn't work, like a cable or internet blips for a second, it's a minor inconvenience for us. But when stuff like that happens, and it does happen at a macro level for these events, it's like, all right, everything comes to a halt. And I think it will get better, obviously, but
yeah,
it's still tough. You can't always plan for when the tech doesn't work. But let's see, Chandler Smith to be Captain America. Oh yeah, oh yeah, Sam, that was awesome. Yep. Let's see. Oh, Rambler says hello, Lauren. What's your deadlift max, Lauren?
Oh, it's It's funny. Kelly and I were talking about how far we would have made it through that. I got to look at the women's leaderboard now. 335 is mine.
We were all sitting there and being like,
What would we rank?
It was almost like a reverse auction, like raise your hand when you tap out.
Yeah. Okay, so I would have placed B.
I don't know. I think you could have maybe pulled 345.
345. Yeah, maybe.
Would have put you 15th.
Yeah, around 15th overall. No big deal.
Let's go see the guys.
Yeah, where would you finish?
I think I got 560 in me.
Oops,
reasonably.
Wrong way.
That's not accounting for any like Disney moments.
Okay, around 560. So you would have finished 9th?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Solid.
Yeah, because even 545 would have beating 545 would have put me 9. So I think if I hit 555, but ooh, Brad. Yeah,
What did Brad say?
He said he's taking Pat Vellner of the field with a 90-point lead tomorrow.
This men's leaderboard's wild.
It is wild.
Pat Vellner, 90 points ahead of Jeff Adler, who then has Roman 25 points behind him,
15.
who's also, sorry, 15.
Yeah,
math. Yeah, always check my math. Who's also tied with Brent Fikowski with 385 points. And then right behind that, Jason Hopper and Chandler Smith are tied for points at 375. Like, they're three of them are tied. Travis Mayer is also with 375.
Yeah, honestly, I'm I think obviously I'm going to take Vellner for sure.
But this is the position Vellner was in last year.
He wasn't this far ahead though.
Are you sure? Because I felt like he was so far ahead, and then the last day.
Here, let me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Because I want to go.
We got to know. But is there a way to see the points before the final day, though?
Last year, Vellner won an event. Yeah. Last year, Vellner won an event on the final day. Gosh. Because this one, event 9, was the muscle up run event that he won. It was a couple times before we had the 17th and the 10th. I think that might have been closing midday Saturday.
Okay.
So
when was the one where the shoulder to overhead where he was failing the reps?
It was heavy grace. It was the finale, and he went for it because he actually had to make up some ground.
But then why is it heaven first?
There's more. What? There's more events to the right.
Okay.
The layout of
I
this
see.
doesn't allow for. I think if I do this. Nope.
No, because that's 9 events.
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, and there was 10.
Oh, 10 you're right. You're right. Okay.
Events, but I'm gonna take Vellner in the field. Betting odds. I'm gonna say Vellner's like minus 350. He's a 3.5 to 1 favorite there. So maybe even more. He might be minus 400. He might be a 4 to 1. 90 points is a lot.
It is a lot.
Because if he can at least do well at 1 and hang some points on a few people there, it's going to be tough, especially with people like Adler and Roman behind him and Brent. Everyone's like had some hand issues and stuff like that, and some seesaw stuff. Outside of that first run, look at Vellner's finishes.
I know. Second, third, fourth, third.
He's been the most consistent guy by far.
Everybody else has had like a bottom 10 or worse finish.
Yeah, I think he's got it for sure. How the lowering temperatures tomorrow? Yeah, cool off, and again we might have to deal with some rain. So, but let me go pull up the events just to make sure, because I wouldn't be surprised if stuff changes. So for event 7, you have the Hulk hands, which love that name. Echo bike, double fat bell, ground to overhead 70 and 50. Front rack lunge to Zeus, run, bag drag up the hill, front rack lunge, double fat bell, ground to overhead, echo bike cows. It feels like a Fikowski event. I do think Pat will also do well at it. It also feels like a Roman event. So Pat Pat will be fine in the pegboard with Big Cat. He should do well at that. I think Pat can do just enough there. I think he can finish top 6, maybe a spot below that. If he's finishing in that 4 to 6 range, I think he'll be just fine.
Mm.
And I think with how banged up everybody else is, the only bad part is Pat was one of the last guys out on the floor for the deadlift. So he has a little bit more compounding fatigue from that. Now in the Echo bike, who knows how that, like the lunge and the fat bell ground to overhead, he'll start to feel it there for sure. And then who knows on event 9, whatever that ends up being. But I think he'll be fine on event 8. The pegboard, box jumps, hill run, yeah, because it's not the hill run's not. It's not like an endurance thing, and yeah,
No.
he can trudge up that thing. On the women's side, let's see. Hulk hands, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna say Laura on that. I think Laura's got that one. Interesting on the box jump pegboard climb. I think we might see. I think we might see Laura and Tia flip flop on those two, because I think with the box jumps and the hill run, evens out the pegboard climbs. Laura's obviously very good there. I think Laura might maybe take the lead on Hulk hands, and then Tia could take the lead um, on the pegboard event. And then who knows with that last event, whatever it ends up being.
CBD.
It feels like 2 years ago when Tia and Annie were going back and forth. But do you think she will regret trying not to win? This is from Rambler. Do you think Laura Horvath will regret trying not to win the deadlift? She has double overhand and powerlifting belt. She had more in the tank. I don't know if she had more in the tank. That's the thing. She like the underhand might have been a chance, but who knows with how her grip was feeling. The issue with Laura, if you were watching her lift,
Yeah.
it was all about getting the bar to her knees. Once she got the bar shelved on her, like above her knee, she was super fast with the finish portion of the deadlift, getting her hips through.
Slow pull at the beginning.
Yeah,
fast at the end.
pushing the hips through. But when getting that bar up to the up past to like the patella tendon was like slow and really methodical. And there was a point where you could just see like, I don't have the fight in me. Danny had it too at the end. Obviously she was trying to, but there was a point where like, I've just been grinding through a couple of these lifts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 10 points at the end probably will matter. Yeah. But I don't know. And it also could be, does she save a few points here? And does her body feel better on the back end because she didn't have to go toe to toe with Alex and Danny on that, like what, 415 or the 420 and 425 bar? Hard to say. She could pick up those 10 points elsewhere in something that is less damaging to her body. So,
good questions though.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, some exciting stuff. So Hulk hands, yeah. I'm really curious to see what this last one is. Hopefully we'll find out soon. Let me double check any notable stuff. I had some notes here from that. But it was fun to watch the legends getting down and dirty on the logs, sliding all over the place. And I think I said hi to Margot Alvarez afterwards, and she looked like she had a ghillie suit on. You know what a ghillie suit is? Yeah. Like, just covered in grass. Yeah, it was. I loved it. It was funny. It's like, you think they're not competitive still? Oh yeah.
Yeah. But, it's for fun, but
yeah,
these are still competitive athletes having fun.
Yeah. And congrats to Mitchell Hooper winning the strongman, ripping a beer afterwards as well.
Oh, I love it.
Let's see what the final tally was there, just to check, because the other one was Mateusz Kaliszkowski battling back from last place and not getting any lifts on the Tower of Power, and then winning back-to-back tests, including the roller coaster today, and working his way onto the podium was a big-time performance. So solid performance from him, and yeah. World's Strongest Man and the Rogue Invitational champion
Yeah.
too.
Not a bad feather to put in his cap. Tommy.
Oh, yeah, you're making tired now.
I know.
Oh man, favorite moment so far?
Oh, that is tough. Favorite moment? I don't know that I have a favorite moment yet. There's been so many little moments. I think just seeing like moments like Noah and even him like interacting with the fans afterwards. You even got a cool post of
Yeah.
him talking to this little girl. It's almost those human moments that you see after the events that I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, like that's really cool to see."
That was awesome, and the little girl wanted to go up to Noah, and her mom was kinda, like, helping her get the courage to go up and, like, give him knuckles, and
Oh,
yeah, you can it was awesome. I think mine's Chandler. He didn't
yeah.
have to lift that last bar, and he did, and it was just
Mhm.
like, "Hey, you guys all been out here a long time. I'm gonna give you something a little extra to
Yeah.
rally around," for sure. Brad also asked any conversations behind the scenes you've really enjoyed. I had a great
Mm,
talk. Really enjoyed chatting with Matt Torres and Max Elhaj from Training Think Tank today. Yesterday, got to catch up with Kotler. Just trying to, he's had a tough, couple weeks. Trying to give
mhm.
him some love and support behind the scenes for personal stuff. But yeah, I've had some awesome. Had a great conversation with Jake Marconi from HWPO
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
Just
Jake's great.
shooting the breeze, and so it's been fun. Like I mentioned in the chat with Hinshaw, it's a little bit less chaotic than at the game, so like we get to
Yeah.
have some of those combos, and um, you know, just there's a lot of downtime and a lot of people just floating around in a way that's not so over the top like Wodapalooza and not so chaotic like the game. So
Well, it's almost like you have more access to some of these people in the sense of at the games, coaches, athletes, and fans are very separated in like certain sections where I mean coaches, even some of the athletes you'll sometimes see just in the arena,
yeah,
sitting in seats or in line grabbing food, what have you.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
you definitely can have more conversations with them, which is cool.
for sure.
And lots of people getting signatures too over where the athletes come up, and that's always fun to see as well.
Yeah. I mean, Adam said why a lot of us had Ricky on the podium. Why is he so far
Mm,
back if he was so ready for this and looking forward to it since before the games? Well, the only problem with that is it's also hard to gauge how the body's going to respond when you haven't had a game day like that in 7 months,
yeah.
maybe even longer. Because remember, he was supposed to do Wadapalooza, had to back out as well because he was sick. Oh no, that was 2 years
Th-
ago. Sorry, I'm confusing that.
That's
But
okay.
the last time he
What are the years?
really really took the floor
Where
was
is he
was
right now on the
Wadapalooza.
leaderboard?
Yeah, I
That's
think he's
actually a
like
good question.
10th or 11th, maybe.
Mm,
Keep going.
Ricky
12th.
12th.
Yeah.
12th.
So yeah, I mean the 18th was tough uh, to close out yesterday. That was a hands thing. Um, his hands were shredded.
Yeah.
He's not a great deadlifter. So yeah, I think it's a combination of a little bit of the fatigue, the hand issues. That's another thing that like if you haven't been doing that in a while, like hand care can really catch up to you. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean he's also I think he was a little bit more conservative with the dumbbells as well with the shoulder.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compounding fatigue too because even you talk to his camp like he is ready to go and he was chomping at the bit, but like performing well here isn't the overarching goal. It's to
Yeah.
go and win the games. So
As much
like
as he's been chomping at the bit and he has the fight in him and he's been training for this, this is the first time he's competed against these athletes truly since the games last year because Wadapalooza is a little bit different.
a
People
lot
are
of
doing
people are
individual
team, yeah.
teams, like some are just doing teams. So I don't think that like Wadapalooza is a really good indicator of like you against the field of athletes just because it's so different now.
Especially some of the like the shorter high power output stuff. Like
Mm,
I was impressed with how he handled seat at the bar.
Yeah.
because that was an improvement, but that was some of the things that he hasn't always done as well at. He's always been like that junkyard dog grinder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But um, yeah, shoulder fatigue and hand. How are you still awake? It is midnight here. I'm gonna probably be up for another hour and a half.
Yep.
At least, but I'm tired today. Today I woke up, was like, well,
I know
more.
I'm worried for waking up tomorrow, but tomorrow's going to be a shorter day. It's the last day. We will rally, baby.
Oh yeah, you got it. But should be fun. Handing out a lot of prize money. So tomorrow, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool to see, and hopefully, good battle on the women's side, and then Pat Vellner getting back on top if he can.
Know. Oh man, I hope this is like the end of his curse for him. I'm always like, how many glass mirrors has he broken in his lifetime?
Do you see this?
Like,
Brad saying Hopper almost dislocated my elbow, giving me the most fired up high five behind home plate. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Oh,
that is great.
Ride the lightning, huh? One thing we didn't mention at the top of the show is we're going to give a quick shout out to our friends at Box Basics. They've been supporting us all weekend. And really kind of help power this coverage. And so we want to say a big thank you to them. As you can see the graphic on your screen, if you're listening at home, Rig Shakers is the code, 20% off everything in store. Sale ends Friday, November 3rd. Even if you're just curious, go head over because they have a cool release calendar so you can see all the new swag that's coming down the pipe. Whether it's a new pair of Reeboks or Tier or Nike, whatever brand kind of suits your fancy. And I've actually been playing with these Alpha Toro shorts that they have. I think it's another label that they work with. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Really digging these shorts. So yeah, go check it out. Most of the big name brands, whether it's gear or clothing, are up there too. So Rig Shakers, 20% off. Supports us and supports them, and they support us as well, which has been pretty rad to work with them.
And Christmas is around the corner, so you want to support your family and friends.
For sure. For sure. Was even having some conversations with people who have worked with them in the past and how fast their shipping is, and it's free.
Yeah.
So it's good
Can't
stuff
beat
for
that.
sure. Yep.
And great people.
Rain creamsicle for breakfast. Might have to do that.
Wow.
Ed. Yep, 20% on top of sale items too.
Mm-hmm.
So utilize it. At least that's what I'm led to believe. So everything, take 20% off of everything.
All the
store.
things.
So pretty sweet. Bummer you won't be there tomorrow, Jeff, but should be pretty fun. I'm excited to see who walks away, and to me, I'm trying to think which would be the cooler result.
It was even it just came to my mind. It was very interesting watching the deadlifts on the women's side, and you see, I mean, a lot of the women celebrating. Even Kyra Milligan comes to mind. She almost pulled 400. Big moment, big smile every time. Laura and Tia, very, very straight face. But I did notice every time they both give each other a fist bump, but it couldn't be more of a like walk and just boop, keep walking.
Yep.
Both in the zone. And I cannot wait to see like how it turns out, because to me, you could honestly flip a coin.
Yeah.
And to have this battle be this close, I think is cool, because we haven't seen that since what we were saying, 2018.
Yeah. 2018 was, I think, the closest margin of victory between Laura and Tia together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one interesting thing at the end, any chance Lauren Fisher is top U.S. woman overall, 25 points back. I think the first event tomorrow, that big chipper, bike, heavy dumbbell lunging, that will ultimately dictate her day, I think.
I still think Alex Kazan's going to be the top U.S. overall
Alex will
woman
too, and I think Christine will be able to do pretty well on that. On that first one.
Nonetheless, I am super impressed by Lauren Fisher.
Well, and here's the thing: she's going to need a little bit of magic in that last day, and she's competing for something bigger than herself, in her mom's memory. So
yeah,
while I don't necessarily think it'll happen, crazier things have happened, and she, she could catch a tailwind and have a good event and someone slip up.
Mhm.
And once you get a little bit of that momentum, you can taste it there. She's a competitor, right? She's
Yeah.
a fiery competitor.
She's been competing for a long time
She
too.
has, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Lots of experience under her belt.
yep. So,
Mhm.
it's like, I respect you. Like, that was Laura's face. That's funny. Oh, nice. It's gonna get himself some Metcon 9s.
Hey.
That's what's up right there.
Heck yeah.
But yeah. Well, thank you everyone for hanging out this late. Hopefully everyone is on like the West Coast time or something along those lines, so it's not that late. But for everyone like Brad, I know is out here with us, and it's midnight for him too, and Jeff as well. And thanks for hanging out. Means a lot.
We appreciate you.
Ooh, I think we
Mid
need
yawn.
need some sleep.
We're gonna get top 5s out to y'all too.
Yep.
And a newsletter.
Yep, and
a newsletter.
And this out on audio. So we're gonna go knock this out. Everyone that's listening, thank you guys for tuning in as well. For Lauren, I'm Tommy, and Sean's on vacation up in the booth calling everything. I saw him briefly after the deadlift, and he looked at me like, I was like, "Hey, guess what?" And he's like, "What? You get to do this again with the men's deadlift." And he was just like, you could see him like
slowly die,
pull every little bit of strength out. But that's why he's the best. So,
he is.
Yep. Thank you guys again, and we'll check in with you tomorrow, and we'll wrap up the Rogue Invitational. Night.